Good morning, everybody. How are you? Yes, good morning, Anne. It is frosty today. It's frosty down here as well, down south. For second time, only the second time this season that I've had to scrape the car to come into work. So actually, you know, we're doing all right, aren't we? We're doing all right. So I've sketched out. I've given myself a little bit more bottom because that's what I like. And hopefully I've sketched everything out as well as I'm going to. I might put some stars in as well, you know. But I'll wait a few more minutes because there's only three of you. Who's that? Sarah, Rick and Anne. Hello. Gosh, it's cold in this classroom because there's been no heating on in here at all weekend, so it's been a bit chilly. Right, let me squeeze some paint out. We need some white, so let's do that. I don't want to over squeeze. I'm a terrible over squeezer. I'm going to do some cadmium yellow and cadmium red. So orangey yellow or warm yellow. Orangey red or warm red. A touch of burnt sienna or any brown will do. We'll also want some cerulean because that sky is neither one nor the other. So cerulean, green blue or cool blue, ultramarine, purple blue or warm blue. See, you know I'm not a massive fan. There are some brands of paint that we sell that I say cool or warm, and it does make it easier than thinking about colours, and some black. But what I find really interesting is crimson is a cool red, but it's purple red. Ultramarine is a warm blue, but it's purple blue. I feel like, make your mind up. Is purple cool or purple warm? What is it in the grand scheme of things? And that's why colour temperature is a little bit of a tricky subject. Four of you, hello. Hello, hello. It's soon time for Christmas music, I think. Well, it feels very frosty today. I'm doing the live show next Sunday evening, afternoon at 2 o'clock. Christmas songs. So if that's when you're putting your tree up, I won't be putting my anything up until the first week of December, the end. Around about the 4th, 5th. Or later, I can't remember. But yeah, right, let's get my glasses on. Let me plug my ears in. Not a lot to draw today. Let's see who we've got joining us on Discord today. Good morning, Anne, Chris and Robert. How are you? Jolly good. Right. So I've got my... It is. It wasn't what I got planned, but when I opened the curtains this morning, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this one instead. So I've given myself a slightly higher foreground, just so I can put the fence so it's not right at the bottom. Um, it does. I've broken mine up. I'm not doing a fence right the way across. I've broken it up so it will just be ornamental. It won't be any good for keeping the deer out. No, just it's just a bit of a tree, and that's it. And I mean, you could wing that, couldn't you? Really, you wouldn't have to draw all of it. You could just go for it. No. Morning, Sue. I'm doing it whenever I have a square picture. I always make it so I've got more sky, because I know I can't invent the left or the right, but I know I can invent the sky because it doesn't really matter. Um, so yeah, it fits the bottom, and then there's an extra 2 inches of sky that I'll put in. So that's why I might make it a little bit darker at the top and shove some stars in, possibly. I don't know. Who knows? I didn't see out. No, what was? No, I got the curtains shut. I'd got my sister on a sort of FaceTimey thing for an hour and a half. So I just as it was getting dark, so I didn't see anything, which is a shame. I do like a nice crystal clear sky because you can see so many stars where I live. It's wonderful. Hardly any light pollution at all. Right, so I'm going with my big brush, and I'm going to scoop up a little bit of white for the sky in the lower part of the sky. See, I've just painted over where my tree is, so what was the point of drawing that? That white is totally obliterated. Oh, I can just about see it, but I haven't finished with the sky yet, have I? I've got to make a sort of soft orangey pink colour with cadmium red, and cadmium yellow. And usually this has got more red at the base and more yellow at the top, which is slightly concerning for a painter, because it does mean a bit more of an issue when we get to the green sky. But we'll see what we can do. Let's I don't want a green sky, by the way, so I am going to keep it fairly orange. Cad yellow and cad red, but a little bit more cad red at the bottom. And I might sneak a little bit more white because I've got more space for the sky. Because anybody that's seen any or been on any of my colour mixing things will know that it goes more of a hazy colour where a yellow meets a greeny, or where the sort of golden colour meets the blues. It goes hazy, so more white. Oh, you're being square today. You're being a square person, Sarah. Okay. Right, I've still got the colour on my brush, but I'm just eking it out a little bit higher than in the photograph. But as I say, I've got the scope and the space for the sky. So if I clean my brush, because I don't want any orange in this bit, because I'm going to mix two of the blues together. But I think, I am going to have to put a little bit of white there already, just to help the blend of the two colours. So we'll go with both blues. And I'm going to start a little bit higher up. And then very lightly take the pressure off. So I need to make sure that goes. I'm going to be really quick with this guy so far. So more blues, no white. As I get a bit further up though, I might add a smidge of black. Pick up some of my drawing board. Because I want it as graded as I can get. Now it's always tricky in acrylics to get anything graded and gradual, isn't it? Because it's just there and it dries so quickly. If I give that a bit of a clean and a drying off, you see, if you struggle to get a blend, I've got a hair. Get to come off my jumper. There we go. If you struggle to get a blend, the best thing I can suggest is that you just use white on your brush, and that will help. But what you have to do is, every time you've gone into the blue, you're going to have to go and clean off your brush and dry it off again, because what will happen is, if you don't do that, it will constantly bring the blue further down if you're not careful, and really we'd want the blue further up. There is a bit more of a blend than is showing on camera. So there, look, if it's going wrong, I'm going to mix up a really whitey orange, and blend it upwards. And if anything, it should go more of a grey colour or a brown colour, which is better than green. Right, that's going to have to do, and I'll let that dry. I won't let it dry because it's only a 45-minute demo. Remember that. Right, let's get the hairdryer on it. And a bit of tea. That horizon area is already dried. I did a nice owl painting over the weekend. I did post it on the Barry Whitehouse art page. It was the owl that we did in coloured pencils on a Thursday morning. I did it in gouache on a wooden panel, which is really nice to do. So we've got a lot of mist to put on today, but you can't really put the mist on until you've got layers to do that with. So I'm using a smaller flat brush, and I will go with ultramarine, a little bit of cad red, a little bit of white, to make a sort of purple grey. And if that's my line, then I'm going to let this sky go in. I'm probably not going to do as many layers as there is in the picture, just because of time. And I've gone over my red. So what I'm going to do then is go straight into the white. For mist. So you've got sort of like a sort of more of a solid top, and it goes into very white. So I haven't cleaned my brush, but obviously the paint's running out more and more as I'm doing this, and it will mean that I can put on a softer background. Again, I'll probably only do 2 layers because of the time of today, but that will also have a misty frost in front of it. So this time I'm going to go with a bit more blue, a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of red because it's autumnal, a little bit of yellow. So we're sort of changing the tone a little, and creating layer number 2. This is all in the distance, so we won't see anything. Now I should be letting all of this dry, obviously, but I don't have that luxury of time on a Monday. So I brought some of it above the horizon, and then a little bit of white again. Right, so that's titanium white on that layer as well, right at the base. So that's so that is a mixture of ultramarine, cadmium red, cadmium yellow, and burnt sienna for that foliage. So it's just a nice mix of sludge, because we've got misty grass to stick on as well. Let's see if I clean that brush a little bit. So for misty, oh yeah, misty grass, I'm going to want it cooler, so I think I'm going to stick a little bit of cadmium yellow and cerulean, but it's autumn, so we'll put a, oh that's too much brown, Barry, what are you doing? Like that, and a bit of white. I will add more white because I want it to look frosty misty, a bit like this morning. So I'm going to stipple maybe. So while that dries, I'll make a slightly deeper green from cad yellow and ultramarine, for the foreground. So it's cad yellow, cerulean, and a bit of burnt sienna for the background. But for this foreground strip, which is in front of the fences, I'm switching blues because I want more texture on this, because this isn't going to be as frosty. So if we start with the dark and then we can build up a little bit more. Just soften it in a little bit so it doesn't look like an absolutely stripy picture. Right, that'll do. Yeah, that'll do. And I can add the frost with a clean brush. But the frost is going to be a very pale blue and a pale green colour. But I want a nice stipple. Just throwing my brushes across the classroom. We've really got to organise the classroom into a proper packing facility over the next couple of weeks, because it's a bit like a Channel 5 Hoarders documentary at the moment. There's no order, and we've got to make the order. There was sort of an order, but you know, as you move things around frantically, the order disappears, doesn't it? And technically nobody's going to be up here anyway, only Jackie and myself, so it doesn't really matter. But for my own peace of mind, I really want it to feel a little bit tidier in here. So I need that to dry just a fraction. This is good. I've 15 minutes so far, and we've sort of created a landscape. You see, I do like the other trees, but I don't know if I want them in the picture. You know, the other two. What do you think? Would it look better with just the dead tree in it? Because I do think the others are really nice, but I just love that dead tree. And I think maybe I will. Maybe, I don't know. Yes, absolutely. I think that that little stumpy tree behind is nice because it's there, but no. Right, so what the very background trees are cadmium red and ultramarine with a bit of white. It's purple, yeah, and then the next layer is those two plus burnt sienna and cad yellow. A bit of everything. Just swirl it around and see what you get. So I'm adding a bit more white to the green for this. I mean, there is sort of darker greeny clumps within that mid-ground area, but I don't know. Let's do all the grass. No, we won't. We'll do the trees next. The tree. I want to do the tree. We'll see how we get on for time and stuff, but I think I just love that dead tree. I think it's the dead tree that drew me to the photograph rather than the other two autumn trees, and I think a nice bit of space would look quite nice. So that tree colour, I'm going to mix some black. Let's spin my tile around. It's the mixes you need to see, not the colour. So black, burnt sienna, and maybe a little bit of ultramarine. I don't want it to be too flat, and you can see there's just a hint of light on the one side. So I'm using an almost liner brush, a liner or a rigger. This is a half liner, and I'm going to be using loads and loads of water. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the crown. I've only just started, so I'm going right back to the beginning, and I've been watching it while I've been doing all my other stuff at home over the last 2 days, and I'm on series 2 now. I think it's, I mean, I'm sure it's not very historically accurate in many instances. Yes, you see, I'm on series 1 and series 2, and nearly everybody's dead in that. So you know, apart from the Queen, but obviously as it progresses, with the, because series 4 is Diana, isn't it? So yeah, that's the whole thing about that is going to be interesting. How are they? Yeah. No, I don't know how they must have had to pass it, wouldn't they? Do you think? I mean, the Queen does come off very well in the first 2 series. Always trying to do what's right. Well, they are. Yeah, absolutely. I I wouldn't envy them though. I wouldn't want to do it. And you can't. And the trouble is, you can't control who you're born into, can you? That's the thing. You know, I mean, as a princess, she had no desire to be queen, did she? It was only a chain of events that caused that. You know, and in the first series. All right, I'm just gonna go let Jackie in. I'll be back in a second.
In that case, you'll have to wait. Oh, hello. Right.
Right, Jackie's in. Let's plug my
Hello.
ears back in.
I'm here.
Ooh, it's chilly out there.
It is.
It's not getting any
It's quite
warmer.
fresh.
Fresh.
It is a little bit fresh.
Fresh is the word. Now I've I have no idea where my drawing lines are. Oh. I'm going to miss most of the trees out. I'm only going to do this big one because I like this big one. Just thought I'd fill you in.
I'm very excited for my new bubble wrap.
Yeah, that will go easy on it. That's all the bubble wrap in the world there. Literally. Yeah. so hard to get it thin enough at the end. I love a good dead tree, I do. Something about it, don't you think? We've not got Anne today, Chris. Yeah. No. No, but she does some lovely things in acrylics. She has, yeah. I know. And I think that is the trickier part of sort of like this sort of distance learning, is there's not the same level of feedback or pointers because I'm not in the room, you know. Now I could always use, if I can't get it any thinner, I might switch to a smaller brush. I didn't think I could get one much smaller, but I'm going to have to. I think I'm going to, because it's a small, they're short branches. I might be able to work with one of the little brushes, you know, the detail brushes. Since I am only going to do one tree, I might as well make it work. And then I can put a little bit of highlight on it and stuff, but not, again, I don't want to go crazy. I also don't want this to look not like a dead tree when I've finished, so that's the other element of this, is that, you know, I want a few branches on, but not more than a dead tree should have. Yeah, I think I'm in focus when I see you. I think it might be your yeah. Yeah, it's probably your Wi-Fi. Yeah, it is. It's any moving image. Sometimes if your Wi-Fi is just a little bit squiffy, um, you lose any clarity. Um, it happens at home. Although we had the tree cutting thing in the village, like you did, Robert. But one of my neighbours has got, since the tree cutting, they've had hardly any internet at all. Yeah. Whereas mine's been fine. She texted me this morning to say, "Is your internet all right? Because we haven't been able to get any internet since Thursday. Not properly. I'm having to. I'm supposed to be working from home, but I can't. I'm having to try and find internet from elsewhere. And obviously, my internet's fine because I've been watching The Crown, so no idea what's happened there. Right, if I'm gonna. No, no, I'm gonna need that in a minute. So let me stick to my little one, and I'll go with some yellow and white. I don't want it to be, maybe a little bit of red. I want it to feel a little bit warm as I sort of determine which bit of the tree is in front of which bit. Maybe a bit more white needed. I think the trickiest bit when you're doing anything like this is sort of having to know where you want enough white on an object to make it work, but equally it needs to not look like you've just shoved a load of white on something. But it is a good way of working out which branches are in front of which. Something like that. But I do need to ground this tree, as beautiful as it is. It's sort of floating on top of the grass instead of sitting within the landscape. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of that as well. See, you think you got loads of time, then all of a sudden it runs out. Oh, I've got this little fan brush that came with the set. Maybe that'll work if I go with some cad yellow and ultramarine. And a little bit of white, maybe. Right, so now I need a stronger yellow, and maybe I'll try that. I think I need a bit of white in there, and then I'll put the fence in and some stars if we get a chance. It's not I'll have to put some frost on this as well. But you need that little bit of dark just to give it some foreground. So the frost is never white, I always have whatever colour the grass is underneath. No, I don't like that fan brush for this technique, so that won't work. So I think I'll just use an old scrubby brush. You know, some brushes lend themselves to certain techniques than others. I find that when I'm working on my pet portraits, that there'll be some brushes will give me exactly the sort of fur texture that I want, whereas a brush that I might have used for several other dogs didn't work, or the way I have to use the brush is in a very different way. When I did the koalas for the auction to raise money for the Australian bushfires, I had to they've got very bristly fur, so I had to stab the brush that I normally use for fur. Instead of flicking it or dragging it, I had to stab it, and it gave it like little stumpy short fur, a bit like this for the frost actually. So I'm just going to do a few fence posts, nothing major. I will put. I did draw a style, even though I've got a gap, and the fence is not going to be fully complete. I did draw a style, and the reason why, obviously this is a real scene that we're working from, and in real life, you don't want your animals or what have you to get through into different fields or what have you, so it's a really useful method. However, when you're doing a painting, you want the viewer, which is whoever's looking at the work, to be able to, you know, wander their eyes wherever they want. So I might do a bit of a fence and then another jump over for a bit of a fence. It does make it a bit more twee, but you know me, I do like my twee. I like painting twees. So I'm going to block off one bit, and maybe this is one where it's broken and it's fallen down. Try and square the tops. Now if I get my thin brush back, the colour I used for highlighting the bark of the tree, I can use only sort of very loosely. I'm not actively outlining. does just give it a little bit more substance. See, I highlighted one of them and I totally lost the other bit of it, so you do have to be a little bit careful. I think I need to do some actual grass in the foreground as well, just to make it look finished. And I did say I was going to put some stars in, but what I might do is I might do the stars after, because I do like doing them as actual constellations. I don't know if I will or not, so I'm going to go with a good old fan brush, some more yellow and some white. Bounce that along the bottom. Because you want to make things feel more autumnal. You want this to be a bit like we've seen, what we've all woken up to this morning. I think it needs some stars for sure. I bet people will still walk over that style even though they don't need to. They can just go around it. I would, because I'm awkward. That's where you'd put a big crow or something in on the tree. Let me think now. See, I could add just a little bit more of a whitey yellow highlight on that tree. Just in a few places. Helps with the texture and helps with the solidity. Trouble is I'm leaning over the thing that I've just painted. You're almost tempted, aren't you, to put some birds flying around. I was walking, maybe I was driving, and the amount of seagulls that were around the ploughed fields, I thought, God, I couldn't take a photograph of this because there'd just be like 200 or 300 birds to paint in, and I hate putting birds in anyway. Just having a quick Google of some constellations just to get an idea. I might use the white gel pen actually. Because the way I do stars is I might do maybe sort of a hazy thing around the edge of it. Of each one. But everything does need to be dry, because the gel pens are quite fickle. And then you sort of have to hide any constellations. I've done Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius. They won't be in the sky at the same time. It just makes it a little bit more exciting and different. Yeah. Now maybe let me get the hairdryer on this, because I want to do some frosty twigs in the foreground. And the gel pen does not like wet paint. Depends how frosty. I mean, if you go overboard with your frost, it'll just end up looking like snow. So you do have to be a little bit careful. Yeah, how they sort of. There, I think I'm going to call it a done day. Right, next week. Oh, next week. Oh, it's definitely one for you, Chris. It's watercolour next week, and it's the peak of Stobdub, is it called? Stobdub in Scotland? Yes. DUBH. But I've no idea what it is, but I'm calling it Stobdub for next week. And it's going to be in watercolour, so it's a nice snowy mountain, so probably a very limited palette. Hopefully you can see why I've missed out those trees on the right hand side. They for me they don't add much. I prefer a bit of an isolated picture, to be honest, and it works better in my opinion. But if you wanted to add them, then feel free, because it does help give the misty layers a bit more, because I've only done 2 rather than 3 or 4 layers in this picture. So thank you so much for your company today. It's lovely to have you with me. And we've got a nice week ahead. Tomorrow night I've got a drawing class. Well, tonight I've got the hands on the walking stick in watercolour. Tomorrow night is a winter cabin in fir trees in pencil. Wednesday afternoon is a moonlit landscape. Thursday morning are winter trees in ink. Thursday afternoon is a sleeping fox in the snow. There's nothing Thursday evening or Friday morning. Friday afternoon is a nice sunrise, and then Saturday is a big masterclass full day on a Scottish Highlands with cottage in watercolour, and that's a nice frosty snowy Glencoe with Blackrock Cottage in the foreground. Nice dramatic sky as well. So if I'll see you in those classes, it'd be wonderful, and I'll catch up with you then. But if not, I'll see you next Monday. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care and have a really good week. Bye bye. Bye bye.